that's where they stop. So sing with us and learn today. The happy pawn is here to stay. With every move, you'll grow and see. Chess is the best, come play with me. We're the happy pawns, come sing along. Learning chess is where we belong. Knights and bishops, take them out to play. Keep them active every single day. Castle your king, keep him safe and sound. Knights off the edge, they just fall down. Rooks on open files, climbing to the top. 7th rank, that's where they stop. Pawns are special, one step at a time. Work together, they'll shine and climb. Control the center, it's the place to be. Open lanes, and your plans run free. Castle your king, keep him safe and sound. Knights off the edge, they just fall down. Rooks on open files, climbing to the top. 7th rank, that's where they stop. Before you move, it's a clever game. Every piece has a role and a name. Play with a smile, have lots of fun. At Happy Pawn, we're number one. Castle your king, keep him safe and sound. Knights off the edge, they just fall down. Rooks on open files, climbing to the top. 7th rank, that's where they stop. So sing with us and learn today. The happy pawn is here to stay. With every move, you'll grow and see. Chess is the best, come play with me. We're the happy pawns, come sing along. Learning chess is where we belong. Knights and bishops, take them out to play. Keep them active every single day. Castle your king, keep him safe and sound. Knights off the edge, they just fall down. Rooks on open files, climbing to.
Will my face be hidden until you introduce me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, welcome everyone to the 52nd monthly Happy Pawn tournament. Today, same as always, we will have 2 tournaments. So one tournament which will be the beginner tournament. Second one which will be the Happy Pawn Open for concurrent player and also for teachers. So for both tournaments, if you join as a student, you will be able to get 100 points per victory.
3, 2,
You will be able
One.
to get 100 points
Exercise.
for joining the tournament, but also some extra points for each victory. So this will probably depend on your teacher. And for the time control, it will be 5 minutes plus 5 seconds per move. So if you are a beginner, it doesn't mean you need to rush. And if you are in the Happy Pawn Open and you usually play long games, you might have to rush a little bit. Today will be a little bit special because we have a guest. So I'm really happy today to introduce you to our dear guest, Teacher Aran. Hello, Teacher Aran. How are you doing today?
Hello. I'm very excited today because I have forced a great number of my students to join the tournament and have their first proper serious matches. So I'm very excited to have a look over the games and see how they do.
Okay. So the tournament already started. We will have a look at it really quickly. Okay. I just fixed the camera a little bit because, of course, everything moved as I would say like a usual thing when we have a new setup. So let me set up also your camera so we'll be ready for the stream.
Okay.
During that time, I will actually go directly into the games so you will be able to see it by yourself. Oh.
Awesome.
Okay, should be a bit better. During the time, I can fix little camera problems. Up. So let's open all the games and then we'll have a look at it. So do you have any students that is in this tournament? You told me you have a lot, right?
I do have a lot. In fact, the majority of the beginner tournament are my students. There are around 20 boys from Bangkok Christian College who I teach at their school, and I've given them as part of our course is to do a mini online practice tournament because we'll play a big tournament at the end of their studies. I only required them to join the tournament. I'm not sure how many people are available and will join. So I'm expecting we might get a few, late and/or no-shows from some of them. But I'm sure there's going to be at least a few that are ready and raring to go to play. So I'm excited about that.
Okay. So there's two first that we have here. Is it your student? Do you recognize someone?
No, this one's in the open section, I believe, because these guys.
This one is in the open, indeed.
Yeah, I do have one or two. Lulu in the open, who's
Lulu
ranked number
here.
5.
Okay.
Private students. Anyone else that I see? Nobody else for my students in the open. I think mostly the beginner.
Okay. So, let's have a look at it in a few seconds. Okay. I'm trying to get your camera over there. I hope I will be able to get it.
Wonder if my face is flying around the screen.
Your face is currently flying over the screen, indeed. Okay, let me put you a little bit bigger and we will be good. Okay.
Awesome.
Not perfect yet, but I will adjust just during the tournament. So this one, X again, I think it's CS Strike. I guess it's Counter Strike.
Yeah.
So for now, it looks like nobody really started any games.
Yeah.
In the tournament.
I was hoping that we won't have too many of that, but I think for round number 1, it might be a little bit uneventful.
It looks like it for now.
That's very possible.
Maybe we have to wait that everybody's joining, I guess. And then we will probably be able to go back to it as soon as there is a move. So I will just set up everything so we know when there is a move. Up. Okay. So I guess for now we can just have a look at the Happy Pawn Open.
That makes sense.
Few games. Which one do you want to choose?
Well, let's go in order on the grid there. That looks like a good one. There's lots of moves here.
Yeah.
Very cute.
So we only have like potato turtles that might lose on time pretty soon. We have Rack the Meeper. So this one we kind of have to look at it because Rack the Meeper is one of my students.
Okay, absolutely.
As you can see from the opening, I guess you can recognize the teacher touch, I would say like this.
Yeah, this is quite a point of contention actually, because my students might recognize that I forbid them from moving the F pawn before they develop in castle, which is quite funny. I I tell them I'm allergic, and the doctors told me I have this serious issue where if you touch the F, it's sick. So yeah, my students, look away, the King's Gambit. Oh no.
Oh no, the King's Gambit. Look away. Well, we have first little opening mistakes around there, but
Yeah.
it has actually been missed by Alpha
Right.
about the Queen check, which is quite like a famous move in case you forget to move the knight to F3. So it has been
It's one
done.
of the sides of moving that F pawn. You see?
It's
It's
part of
just-
the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a lot of trades. I'm not sure I don't really understand about the move of Mickey. So right, the Meeper at that point, about moving back the knight or
Yeah.
moving the rook outside of the F column, which is a bit hard to understand about the way he developed himself. Probably like
Yeah,
his first game, he needed a warm up.
I think he's trying to target that F pawn and win it back here, but it can be defended enough, so it might be a little bit difficult.
So you have Lulu, right?
Yes, I'd like to mention that Lulu here, he seems to have won the game. Fortunately, he isn't here, but he lives in Canada. It is like 3 a.m. for him. He still joins the tournaments regularly, but it's he has to like set an alarm and wake up, and he's often late at first because he hasn't woken up in time or something. So I think he can be let off. His dedication to joining is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, indeed.
Considering.
I saw him before. So we have like a few games for this round. We have a game between Burger John and Teacher Seb.
I see.
Do you want to comment this one?
Absolutely. I do play the Caracan myself, and both I and Teacher Seb have played lots of games. So I'd like to think I've helped him prepare for this a little bit. Through a lot of the games. I wonder what he chooses the advanced variation this time. My favorite move is c5, which is played here, although bishop f5 is equally good. And the idea behind this is that you get like a French defense, but your light squared bishop isn't stuck behind the pawns. So the dream scenario, if white doesn't play it so accurately, is you get the French and the bishop out, and then you've got a perfect position. I recommend all my students to play the Caracan too, if they want a really good, easy to follow opening with black. So there you go.
Nothing to add on that. Everything is perfect. I recommend exactly the same, and I also really like the pawn to c5 variation on the advanced, much more than bishop f5, because there is still this variant that Teacher Seb actually love to play with the push on g4, which is a little bit annoying. But on c5,
actually, c3 is already inaccurate. I think black is immediately equalized after c3, which shows you like how good and nice. And now the Caracan is perfect. We've got the perfect pawn structure. The bishop's out. How does this game continue? Because we need to cook something up. But with the center closed, with the pawns all stuck, none of the pawns in the middle can move. There's not very much aggressive stuff you can do against black here as white. And they're going to be able to develop castle, bring out their pieces, attack, as you see with the arrows, that d pawn. And it's going to be, I mean, I am so biased here, but of course I would take black in this position like every day. So, because it's hard to come up with a plan as white, and having a bad plan is better than no plan. And it looks like, for me at least, I have no plan as white in this position. So,
me neither. I mean, if you play white in this position, what's your plan except eventually sacrificing the bishop pair to try to get a e-pawn to support that? But you will have like full threats from the queen. It's a little bit a headache to play. I have to say it's a headache to play as white. Yeah, that's what Teacher Seb actually do to try to, I would say, strengthen a bit his center. But now, I mean, black has the bishop pair. They have nothing to fear. They have kind of the initiative. Queen is coming.
Yeah. And again, about making the plans here, black has a clear plan of if everything goes, if you really run out of ideas to improve, you play f6 and you put another attacker on that middle pawn, open things up. So the pawn break in the position, which is one of the most important things to have to continue moving forwards and to actually, advance your position. the pawn break is in black's hands. They can do that whenever they want, whenever they're ready, and ideally when white is not ready. So here I like that strategy, and this has been a good advertisement for the Caro-Kann.
It's a perfect advertisement for the Caro-Kann.
Yeah.
But
well, we'll see how the game ends. If black loses, then okay.
I don't want to take any bets, but from the start, I mean, it already has like 350 elo difference. So
Yeah.
I would say with all the experience, we should be able to see white winning. But will it happen? I guess we'll have to see about that.
Exactly. There's not a whole lot of time, so anything can happen.
For both players. By
Yeah.
the way, about the f6 pawn that you can just push to try to break the pawn structure. One other idea that I kind of like, before I was really in the team, like let's trade the white bishop. But now, once you push, I kind of like the idea that you can eventually come back and relocate if you need some support on the queen side, which has been one of the ideas that I used in Bullet and Blitz, but it worked quite well when you convert it into an endgame, because the position will open eventually. Okay, so we have the bishop coming around there. I'm not so much a fan of this move.
No, you could accidentally get yourself into some trouble here with your bishop on g4, so you have to take on e2.
Yeah.
I think that black had all of the play. They could have sat on this and really squeezed white, and now they've kind of let white have a bit more wiggle room here to maneuver. And this knight's coming to d6. The b7 pawn's going to be weak. You've got maybe a good attack, and you've got chances to start things on the queen side here, which you didn't necessarily have before. So I think this has turned out already good for white. How about we have a quick look over? I don't want to maybe stay too much on one game. Are there other exciting games going on here, or finished already? 2 games.
Oh,
or 2
it's
points.
round number 2, and they
my
already
God.
finished round number 2. So what we can do is that, okay, now they play really fast. Okay, most of the game haven't been played in that round too. We try to see.
I see.
So we have X against AKMM that has been played, and Phoenix against HT that has been played as well. Okay, so I think that's more or less the 2 games that. Okay, all the games.
Yeah,
that have been
like a
played
lot
there.
of people turning up there.
Okay, so we can have a look at it. Is there one game you want to look in particular? So we have this one. Okay, yeah, we have these 2 games. This one we opened it already, but it was the first one.
Yeah.
So I just close all of that, and we can have a look at these 2 games. Is there one side you want to take? We have
No, particularly now.
Okay.
Yeah, so we might see a repeat of a lot of Caro-Kanns, especially if they're my students here. And that is already moving the same piece twice, which is breaking one of the opening rules. Generally, unless you're under attack, which in this case it is, you don't want to move your pieces too many times. So bishop d3 looks a little bit odd because it blocks the d pawn, which then blocks the bishop, and you end up getting standing on your own toes a little bit, which is not so useful. But we'll see.
It looks a bit passive indeed. I mean, in this kind of position, you could have some idea like maybe knight c6 and even e5, which could potentially be dangerous. But
Yeah.
I guess maybe okay. So maybe it was a misclick. Who knows?
Maybe.
I feel it a bit sad to trap the bishop now that he has space, and to close right away with e6.
Yeah, it feels bad to move your bishop again, but so has white, so you don't really lose out too much.
I mean, white moved it 3 times.
Yeah, so no worries. A6, bishop b5, if you know your chess notation and can follow along there, is sometimes an idea to trade off the bishop, but that's probably going to take a long while. But I guess it's not the end of the world. You could do that.
So, okay, there is a queen coming.
Oh.
And now we have a beautiful double question mark in red, which signifies that it has a big mistake that has been made. I mean, so this one, I don't know about you, Aran, but I see it quite a lot is when, let's say, a young player or a beginner is moving a piece to attack something. The other player is not trying to protect or to move his piece, but rather to move a piece to attack that piece that is attacking him.
Yeah.
A bit like ignoring the fact that after white play, black will have to play one move. So you cannot play twice. And this one is definitely a free queen. So now is a moment where white are trying to attack just after losing their queen. Oh. So,
Yeah, well, who knows? Because it looks like blunder checking seems to be the main takeaway from this game from both players, is that every single time your opponent makes a move, a really easy way to avoid some of the bigger mistakes is just ask yourself, what is my opponent attacking, and can I capture the thing they've just moved? Usually, if you ask yourself those two questions, that's going to remove 90% of those big red horrible question marks. Oh, they're attacking my queen, but it's a free piece. Can I take it? Yes, I can, and everything's great. Moves like knight to f3 are also blunders, but this one I would give you a bit for missing. At least that's a tactical sequence and not necessarily too easy to see. But yeah, this one's I think
this pawn is pinned. The knight in f3 was actually not protected at all. So as black, you can just end up taking it for free, and you get even a little rook in bonus. Okay, so at least it has been taken back. A good move from white, not to trade. I mean, oh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful queen sacrifice. I would say I was not expecting that. I have to say I was not expecting that. I don't know if on the moment it was a blunder or not, but
yeah,
it's not. It's actually a good move.
Given the previous moves, I'm a little skeptical. This might have been I want to attack the rook kind of move, but hey, if it works, that's a beautiful move. Well,
I was gonna say, seeing about the time is actually not a blunder because it has been played like tempo, like right away. So it was a trap. It was not even a blunder. Okay, so I guess we can keep the next game for just after, because we just started the new round and we have like a few games to look at, a bit more than previously.
I do want to look at here, which I think could be quite interesting, is Saya against Samira in the beginner, and I think both of those players are here and ready to play.
So Saya.
Yes.
Against Samira. So for now, they're not playing. I think I saw both players before in a tournament where they were actually playing quite good.
So as a little bit of a bonus here, even though this tournament is U1400 on Lichess, which both of them are, both of these players have met in over-the-board tournaments as well in Japan. Actually, Saya, she won the Cadets National Championship for Japan for U9. Or was it? Yeah, I think it was U9. And now she's in the U8 group, and she is a very formidable tournament player and excellent. So I expect to see some very high-level chess from her. And I think that game will be very interesting to see. I bullied the boys in BCC. I said, if you join, there's a little Japanese girl that's gonna beat you all, and give them a challenge. Like you try your best, and hopefully that motivates them to improve. And
definitely, I saw Samira playing before, and tournament after tournament, she was literally improving, getting better and better. I mean,
she's doing great.
The first tournament she made, I think she was like around 600 elo, 500 to 600 about the level. But you can already feel that she was like really young. And the latest tournament have been like much better already, giving away much less pieces. So I really hope that she will be able to join today. Okay, so we'll see about that.
This is Chloe here, who I was very excited. She's up against somebody who shouldn't have snuck into this tournament.
Definitely.
A 1798 Chloe is one of my students who I really, really think has a lot of potential. If she plays as good as she plays against me in our classes, I think she can really hold her own, even against a 1700 opponent. So we'll have to see
Well,
here.
we'll see, but I have to do the work really quickly just to be sure that she will be the only one playing this player. But we will
See,
have
yes.
a look at the game, definitely. Up.
Hopefully, it doesn't come out halfway through the game.
So
It
let's
doesn't.
take the side of Chloe on that.
Yes.
I wish we could actually be next to Chloe to help her a little bit with the move, so she could get like a bunch of elo from that players that don't respect the rules. But
she's playing some great moves here. Oh, the game's already ended here. It looks like, unfortunately, it did end it.
It didn't end with a victory of Chloe, unfortunately.
Right. But these opening moves are pretty good. This one loses a pawn. C3 there was preferable. The queen would defend the knight, and you would counterattack the queen.
Indeed.
Often players would take your knight and blunder the queen there if they're not careful. So, and then we can play knight C5 later, maybe. But
could happen definitely. This move looks quite offensive. I'm not sure that it's good. I mean, you could potentially have idea by taking the knight here. What I'm thinking is like, okay, you take the knight. If bishop takes back, then you get a pawn for free, at least temporarily. But this pawn is hanging as well, so it has like some opportunities. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is more or less what happened.
B3 here was excellent. The one problem is forgetting about that bishop is what makes this game go from difficult to kind of over. But no, I think this is an excellent game for someone rated 900 against somebody who is almost 1,000 points higher rated. This is, you're making a work for it here. Having a look at the time spent and some moves, it might have benefited both players to slow down there. But I think I'd still be happy about that game if I were you.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, it's like a free bonus game because with that difference of elo, she cannot lose any points.
Of course.
Oh, so we have victory here. Who is
Tennis Gambit, I believe that one's called.
How is it called?
I think it's called the Tennyson Gambit. The idea is that white's playing the Budapest Gambit. Usually you play as black. But tempo, you have knight f3 already. There is the most famous and stupidly named opening, the intercontinental ballistic missile variation that comes from this opening, where it goes d takes e4, knight to g4, knight to g5, excuse me, and then we play some kind of d3, knight takes f7, bishop g6 stuff. If you can follow along there, people listening. It's funny, I don't remember the exact move order.
I think it has a variant with like you let that, then you have knight here, and then you push d3, and you hope to take back with the bishop. But
and then after h6, you play knight takes f7, the king takes your knight, and then bishop g6, brilliant move, winning their queen.
So I think we can actually do it on the board.
Yeah.
Because like the variation is something like okay, so it's
clearly white is going for that. They're playing all the moves, but black's not necessarily playing along. This actually works better against the Caro-Kann, funny enough. And here it just doesn't work because f7, a bishop g6, knight's now defending the queen, so it doesn't quite work anymore. But nice try.
But let's see what has been played in a game. So they played that. So they actually play like this same variation.
No.
What? Okay, I was trying to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't. Okay. So it's getting only one side this game. It looks like it. Maybe it was a bit dangerous from black to accept this kind of, I would say, gambit. Oh, yes.
Okay.
I mean, you can eventually take on that. Is it a big risk? Because I mean, if you don't take, you have some like bishop coming, and if you move, you have a discovery check. So I think that knight takes.
Knight c5 that's blocking the defense of the bishop for the queen. So maybe you can play bishop f4 and do some mate or win the queen. Who knows? There's all sorts of nastiness going on here. I don't like the look of this at all.
Yeah, it has some dirty
Yeah.
tactics there.
The
Definitely,
queen dies. My goodness, yeah, that's a disaster for black. But
it's a bit a disaster indeed.
oh,
That's
speaking of disasters,
yeah, it's a bit sad to trade right now.
all of that hard work and oops a daisy.
I'm trying to think, like, is there a way in whatever world that you end up taking out the rook and using it, but not for now.
Yeah, f4 I would play that without question and just keep the attack going. And I'll have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure every aggressive move with check there is strong. So it's a bit of throw everything in the kitchen sink at the opponent and hope it sticks. So, and in the end, somehow, miraculously, black ends up an exchange.
That's a crazy thing, because after exchanging all, it's pretty equal with still a rook in a fully open position. Okay, yeah. The pawn structure of white is very okay, really correct. There is a pawn hanging there, but white are not taking it due to the threat of checkmate.
Right.
Okay, so all right.
The rook might have been better on the second rank there on e2, but I guess not, because this way.
I guess not. Oh, so this is the crazy thing happening, is that at the end, we just like got spoiled a bit from this game, but black won, and that's the crazy stuff, is that black won, and they just took like knight for hero.
Piece of advice for the white player there is they're going for tricks and tactics and attacks just way too much. I think normally you need a justification for going for a big attack. You had it, the king was there in the middle ready to take. Slowing down and finding the mate there and doing your puzzles for checkmate 1, 2, 3 will probably help you find the killer below there, because the opening was a success, but just a little bit too wild in the middle game. Did we have that game between Saya and Samira there? I think they got matched up, so I'm very eager.
They indeed got matched up, but nobody played in a game.
I think it's round 3. Oh.
Yeah, it's a game I was ready to open it, but nobody played. So for now, we just have like one more game to review, to finish the review at least, before to go into the round number 4 that is already started. They are playing so fast today. I mean, if we go to the normal open, they are just at round number 2. So they are already rushing it. So now we have I would say a bit 2 more confirmed players. Burak against Chirac, I don't know how to say it, but a bit more confirmed players. Let's see how it's going. So it's well more constructs, well more built about the game. Is it working? It looks like it's working. Take. Oh, is it working?
You can play queen to h5 there, but it feels odd. Normally the queen isn't on f7. Understandably, normally there's a pawn on f7, especially if you're my student, because you are banned from moving it. Actually, it's not entirely true. If you develop all your pieces in castle, then the f pawns is good to go. But I think it seems to work okay. The problem is this.
Yeah, there's a bishop with a pin, but questions that comes in my mind is, do you have the time to play 1, 2 moves before to get the check?
Well, the queen being on that f file might actually benefit here, because if the rook goes to e1, now that queen and that bishop at f2, maybe there's some knight move with an attack on f2. It looks quite interesting. I'm not quite sure.
So you cannot take immediately, from what I see, because if you take pawn take, and even if you try to move, you arrive just on time, but you will lose the knight on a check and get a kind of broken pawn structure.
And the king's on the run, which normally he doesn't like to be. So yeah, it seems okay.
So after that, black timeout.
You see. Well, that's a less exciting conclusion to that. I think there was some cool tactics there. Queen h4 anyway might have been winning there.
we started to plan everything, and at the end we didn't got our answer. It's a little bit sad. I think I saw 6 games, but now I can see only 5. So maybe I'm wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I'm wrong. Actually wrong. Okay. So we have X against a blue caution on this one. Finally we have Saya playing against Chloe. So again, this one will be an interesting match.
Absolutely. Blue cushion as well is my my students, who I'm very excited to see. They are a strong player. Actually, they won in-person tournaments that we did. I want to say recent in terms of the recent tournaments, but it's been a little while now. And here they're playing the main not refutation. That's a bit strong. But they take with the knight. Knight to a5 is usually the move that we play here, which is a very hard move. This is why the fried liver is so dangerous, because knight to f5 is not the first thing almost anyone thinks of until you've studied this. But taking with the knight allows knight takes f7. Brilliant move if you play on chess.com, which I couldn't understand why you would. But luckily, queen f3, which doesn't look quite as dangerous, although it does look a little scary.
I mean, now you have bishop e6, which could solve the problem, at least temporarily.
Is knight to d5 or queen takes knight also working? You could just go all in and counterattack. The knight is hanging now that you've moved your knight on f6. And you could just say, okay, I take your knight, you take my knight, and then I play bishop e6, and if you take with the queen, and like I'll be fine. Knight d5, maybe you would blunder mate, so ignore me.
So, I think in both positions you will arrive with double pawns on the E column and the F column open, from what I see. If you have queen take, bishop e6, bishop take, pawn take, you end up with a double pawn. And if you go right away bishop to e6, you can have knight take and pawn take, and you end up in the same position.
Maybe queen f6 instead of moving the light square bishop at the end. Could it defends the knight on c6? It
and coming back with the queen.
Maybe.
It looks a bit better, but but you have
double pawns where you slice it,
Yeah, you could. I mean, you will still have double pawns on the C column. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So
and now the F pawn's been, which is making me feel a little bit sick, but I'll survive. Oh goodness, that is quite the blunder there.
So it looks like oh my god, it looks like
it looks like blue cushion here is getting the best of this. I quite like d3. They're trying to encourage them to take with the pawn and block their rook. It's quite useful. Oh, and the pin, losing the knight, which does happen if you oh gosh, that's a lot of pressure.
But the queen got.
I didn't see. Never mind. I'll take the pressure. I'm not so worried about the pressure anymore. I didn't see b6.
So you see, you can get surprised in this game. That's what's really fun, I guess. Is that everything can happen. You feel like that's so much pressure, but then the queen is gone. Yeah. And now you will have rook take on check.
And we take that with the queen, no problem there. We'll be up a rook at the end of all these exchanges.
Which now, I mean, if you want to get your game as easy as possible, okay, so we got spoiled again. But if you want to get your game as easy as possible at that point, you just play queen take. I mean, who is gonna stop you? Play
exactly,
queen take,
which is exactly
now you can take here. You will be attacking 2 pieces, so you get your piece back, and you get the extra pawn bonus.
Yeah.
So
and
after you
there's
take, it has to be like a bishop to g5. No other choice there. Otherwise, you can just promote. Oh no, the knight can move, but you lose the bishop. So I guess in both ways you're okay.
Taking seems perfectly fine to me too. I mean, really, at this point, it's just a matter of technique in terms of trading down the pieces, putting the rooks on the second rank. I mean, being up a rook is a great luxury, and now a rook and a queen is more than enough. Look at that. What a great conversion there. I'm very happy with that one. And most of that game, except the opening there against the fried liver. You can be forgiven, though. The fried liver is a very difficult, tricky, trappy opening your opponents can throw at you. If you play e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, you need to be aware of what to do there. Because it's not intuitive. You can't be blamed for getting into some trouble there. And if the opponent knew knight takes f7, you would have, it would have been even worse. So,
one thing you can definitely do if you want to avoid that is to play Karokan. Or in other ways, you're not only exposing yourself to fried liver attack once playing e4 and answering with e5, you also expose you to king gambit and to all the other gambit like the Danish gambit as well, which are quite dangerous. I mean, for black, I would hate to play this kind of position. So
and also Scholar's Mate is completely refuted by 1c6. You can't get yourself into some trouble there. So
indeed, you avoid so many threats for beginners.
Yeah. So Miss Saya loves and is an absolute professional at the Italian opening. She plays it very well and very positionally with this structure here with the c pawn and d pawn moving only one square. Tucks that bishop to safety and will slowly just outmaneuver the opponent almost certainly here. Bishop c5 runs into a small problem that starts with f and ends in orc.
So is it a problem or is the fork working? I think the fork is working.
It looks fine to me, and it messes up your structure, but a piece is a piece, even if for 2 pawns.
A piece is a piece, indeed. And I mean, black pawn structure is okay, but it's not the best. I mean, after you push b4 and get a fork, could be a possibility. It could be a possibility. Okay, so trading pieces. Obviously, the fork has not been seen.
Not.
And you have also a secret threat that is like just much better. You push pawn to c4, and you get your bishop attacking that, and your pawn attacking here.
There is knight to b4 there to make things complicated. And then a3, knight takes c2. It gets a bit messy. I would have preferred b4 myself, I think. But
knight here and pawn, a3, and then you can have
knight c2. You might be able to. No, but then queen c2. No, you're not on the bishop. So it looks like maybe you can just weasel out there with some messy tactics, I think. But
I think so. It could be messy. It could be messy for sure.
Yeah. b4, I think, is a bit more of a cleaner move. But any way that gets the job done is perfectly fine, of course.
So c4 is actually what has been played, and it has been missed by Chloe on at least about that knight. Oh,
watch out! There's a battery. Duracell.
And a knight hanging.
And a knight.
So the knight have been saved. The king might not have been saved. Oh. But she's not taking.
There's queen c4, which seems to win a piece. There's queen takes h7. There's, bishop b3 maybe, but then the king goes to h8, and now the queen's hanging. But then watch out. There's not bank crack checkmate. Take a look at that bishop on the left side of the board there. It's covering e1. That's an easy one to miss. I would see a lot of players come down with their queen in some lines there, and whoops, daisy. You know those memes where, they think it's mate, and then they run, and the bishop's on like a different board, like in a different room. It's a little bit there.
It's quite easy
but there's
to miss the bishop, indeed.
Yeah, there's too many threats here, and this one is a conversion being up too much material.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not only about the material at that point. It's like the position is a bit totally crushed. Okay, everything is falling apart. The only thing you might want to be careful at that point is a stalemate.
Yeah, I definitely recommend not hunting down those other pawns. There's no need. I mean, wow, what a beautiful checkmate out of nowhere there.
I was surprised too when I saw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, indeed, everything is covered. So it's quite a beautiful knight checkmate. I think it's a bit of luck, honestly.
I mean, when you have, everything wins, I think.
Everything wins anyway. But about the beautifulness of the checkmate, might be a little bit of a surprising move, but at the end it worked. So we have e4, e5 again. Looks like Black, or at least Burak, didn't got the lesson from his previous game. So he's getting offensive, and it's quite working. It's quite working.
Yeah. A little nuance there is that instead of taking that h pawn for Black, they could have actually gone Queen g3 check first, because there's a pin. That f pawn is pinned by the bishop. The king would have to move, and then you could take the h pawn with check, and you kind of get all the moves an extra move earlier. This is a common idea. Also, one of the main reasons you've got to be very careful moving those pawns around your king, and watch out for those X-rays. Those two things together add up for some nasty moves. It looks cool. It's not so exciting, but it definitely looks cool. And I think for style points reasons, you should definitely go for it.
Definitely. I mean, this move looks a bit off to me, at least. Okay, you're taking it, but you're also offering an opportunity to trade the queens.
Especially because could have been captured by the pawn, which is probably preferable to moving a queen.
Also, you could just have like a queen check as well.
So, but the knight g2, it saves the knight, which I'd rather just eat that.
I was thinking about, okay, knight g2 and then knight take with a threat of checkmate.
Yeah.
Looks quite nice.
It does.
I think it's working because the rook is totally trapped.
Yeah,
and
that
you get a queen. Yeah.
Excuse me.
But we have like a lot of tactic around that. So trying a draw, but it's not working. Now going for checkmate directly. Okay, and it's a checkmate.
Some combination of those moves we're going to finish it off. That's a good game there played by Black in that position.
It was. I just see that we have another 1,700 in the tournament. Okay, so this one has been paused. I'm trying to find, because it has like these players that just joined, as we saw. Viraj is still in the tournament? Okay, so we have another one joining. So even if the tournament is like halfway through already, and I need to clear him out, because it's a bit too late to send a message and say like, can you please leave the tournament? Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's already round 5 that started.
Oh, if Blue Cushion plays against Saya, I think that's a very interesting game for me to see, as both of these are two of my stronger students. So I'm expecting a nice game there.
So let's have a look at that.
Yeah. So the Caracan, no surprise here. You may have seen this before. And c5, of course, that's my preferred version instead of bishop f5. c6d, there we go, and bishop g4 should come. E6, small problem there.
Yeah.
We didn't need to, but it's okay.
You still have some ways. You still have some ways by pushing on the side and eventually getting like a fianchetto there and hoping to open up. I guess could be an idea.
Of course, and we see that familiar strategy there with the knights targeting on d4. I believe you can actually take this one. Sometimes you have to watch out for some trick with the bishop b5 check that will pick up your knight. But in this case, your knight actually covers the b5 square, which is...
Even the queen check doesn't work.
Yeah, and the queen check, the knight can just go back to c6. So it's a tricky one. Definitely have to calculate that one out, but it looks like Black has done a hit and run here and stolen a pawn. A central pawn, no less, and the pawn that defends the e-pawn, which can't move, so is a bit of a sitting duck for the moves that we've seen before. But queen g4 is a very aggressive and very dangerous move, and I'm not surprised. Oh, I thought Saya was in the tank here, but taking a time to think. Bishop g5 is a very nice solution to that problem. I really like that.
It's a good move.
Saying, hey, I'm the pawn, I don't want any funny business. The only way I can lose this now, objectively speaking, of course, is to get a kingside attack. So kingside attack immediately neutralized the e-pawn, as we mentioned, now without a defender, falls, and so does everything else. So does the position by the looks of it. It looks like it's just too much to handle here. And I did mention before, at the start of the tournament here, that Saya is a bit of a favorite, I think. She's a very strong player and doing a very good job. And I expect after this tournament might get her rating above 1400. And maybe we'll see her in the Open next time.
And she saw even that she could push to d4. She saw it.
Of course. Her puzzle rating, she does puzzles every day. Her puzzle rating on test.com was 3,000 at one point, would you believe?
3,000
Which
on chess.com in puzzles?
in puzzles, I think that means that she does them every day, and she will only complete the puzzle if she knows the correct answer. If not, she'll take some time or maybe change it. I'm not sure. So really strong. She's not going to miss those tactics.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
yeah, any students watching this won't miss them too if they also do their puzzles. Even 5 or 10 a day, it really does absolute wonders for your tactics. And yeah, bishop h3 trying to fish for king e1 looks like a cool move, but
it's definitely a game changer. Definitely a game changer about doing puzzles.
And someone here has put in the chat, Saya number 1, Burak CSR number 2, and Blue Cushion number 3. Is that a prediction for the final standings, or is that the current standings? I'm not sure. I wonder if that's a prediction.
It's prediction because Burak, who is writing that, see himself on the second spot, but he's on a third. So he's thinking maybe he will win the next round. So
well,
you can see that Saya is already preparing about tactics all the time.
And
this one is not working right now. But
I'm not too picky at this point. Now in comes the rooks, or maybe a6 is necessary. I don't really like rook to b, but I mean here, yeah, I mean that's just a perfect game. Except do remember to move the light square bishop out before locking it in if you have the chance. I think that might literally be one of the only suggestions I would even bother to give in a review of this game. So excellently played there, and no hard feelings at all, Mr. Blue Cushion, because that is a tough opponent.
It was a tough opponent, definitely, especially about the tactics, as we can see.
Yeah.
We have also Chloe against Phoenix around there.
Okay, so Phoenix is getting some bonus points here. He is a student from the school I teach at, and I'm very happy that he's joined in here. And this is going to be an interesting matchup. I would put my money on Chloe if I were to bet, which of course I wouldn't, which is silly. That's a bit of a shame. Although maybe it doesn't work because of knight to h5. Maybe this fork is not.
I think knight to h5 work, but you have bishop attacks the queen, bishop g5,
and then f6. It's a mess. You don't want to get into this stuff, but
it will be messy, definitely. I think you can eventually get a pawn as well.
What am I talking about? The bishop takes bishop is of course the best move, because then we play e5 afterwards anyway. Oh, what a shame. That would have been the cleaner way. I hallucinated. I was thinking too complex there, keeping it simple. Chloe.
I think at that point you can have pawn take e4 too. To avoid the push. Yeah, but it's a bit more complicated.
We're getting messy again. Yeah.
It hasn't.
I don't like messy. I like things nice and safe. Is e5? It's there for the taking. Oh, and it's gone.
So
it's back.
It's back, but there is like pawn hanging. Now it's not working anymore so well, because you can take there, the knight is hanging. But yeah, actually no, it still works. Okay, so I don't really know what's going on in this game.
Well, and the rook was hanging, but the knight's moved. Okay. So we definitely, I think, next class are going to do a bit of review on the fork tactic, because this, the thing is, the evaluation. I love to analyze my games afterwards. I think everyone should, and I think if we click the computer analysis there, we will see a spiky graph of computer screaming out, "Hey, push the pawn, please push the pawn," and then no, okay, next time push the pawn. You know, so I think that would be an exciting one to see.
For sure, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
We'll see like a red cross every single time white play another moves and e5. Like you miss a move, you miss a move, you miss a move. Yeah.
Every black that isn't stopping e5 is also a question mark.
So now it's done. It's done. It's done about that. We not see any miss things. So I think that white thought that their pawn is in danger, so they pushed, but now they lose the pawn.
But the rook is the knight's pinned to the rook. Let's not forget. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, the queen protecting.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't see the queen there. So you're right. That's just a pawn. Bishop b7 as well for black there instead of moving the queen. Lots of times you will see the person move the knight and just blunder the battery, the mate there on g2. But
so the idea of queen d6 was to attack 2 times the pawns that nobody protects, but it also removes the protection on the rook. So after taking with the knight and having 2 beautiful attacks on the pawn, they hang the rook.
Yes, and it is seen, which is excellent.
So
and we.
You said you bet everything on Chloe, right?
Yeah.
For now, your bet is working. Kind of working.
It is, although normally people say that you shouldn't bet because of the risk involved, and this looks like a risky one for you know, it looks like it's down to chance a little bit here because lots of mistakes from either side. But that's the game of chess, right? I think the addition of computer evaluations has created a lot of problem in the chess world. After all, this is a game against 2 players where mistakes are common, and it's really the person who's done most of their puzzles who finds that last good move. You know, the first blunder doesn't often kill you; it's the last one that does. And here is a blunder for you. It's queen to e8, back rank checkmate, which is seen and ends the game right away. So, poof, my imaginary money is safe.
Indeed, that's definitely one thing that I heard when I was a kid, and it was like 20 years ago already, maybe more than that, about that mistake, that it doesn't matter how many mistakes you do in a game until you don't do the last one, because otherwise you will just lose. And that's what Penix did.
Yeah, the last one depends on your opponent, not you. And normally you don't want to give your opponent the chance to win. So obviously the end result is still probably try not to do any mistakes, but you know, don't worry too much if you do. That's the thing. Okay. We have Saya versus Borak CSR, who expects to get the second place. So I think that's going to be the top-rated game of the beginner tournament, so that could be a very good one. Maybe not the top rated, excuse me. Blue questions.
At least not now, because there is one more round. So it means if Saya got a victory there, she's 100% sure to get the first place. So she just needs to win that game. Whatever happened to the next one, because on the tiebreak she's already above. So, and about Burak, he kind of need to win it, otherwise he might fall under Chloe or X as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
So let's see about Saya. I will put my money on Saya on this one. My imaginary money. Because we have this Italian, as you said, that she likes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Actually, Saya was invited to play against Judith Polgar in a simul recently, which is a great honor. And there she had the black pieces, so she didn't have a chance to test out her Italian against Judith, but she played the trusty Caro-Kann instead. And here, bishop b3 is a little like sneaky move that's not so obvious. that safeguards that bishop, puts it to c2. But maybe even knight to h4 with the cheeky threat on the bishop could come. Although I should, this is her move to play. I hope she's not listening in. d4, of course, is a common break here. And the reason why, one of the many reasons why c3 is useful, because now we've got 2 pawns in the middle and just an excellent center there. Make sure to be careful it doesn't fall, though. There's a lot of pressure on that e-pawn.
You have 3 pressures, and I think the pawn is falling right now.
Yeah, knight to does defend the e-pawn, but it undefends the d-pawn, so there's a bit of a problem there.
So you have to play queen take, but now there is a pawn hanging.
So that looks like a little bit of an issue. I think taking that does look like the best way to avoid that pressure, and maybe trying to take the initiative here. Often when your opponent takes one of your pieces, they muddle up their pieces a little bit in grabbing it. So you can often get the initiative as a small bit of compensation for what you've just lost. So yeah, I think queen f4.
Queen, yeah. But you have the push to e5, to d5.
Bishop and then queen f, that win the pawn back. Actually, then that in that line.
Sorry.
Would bishop takes f7 and then queen f4 win the pawn back in that line there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. A tricky one.
Been trade for the knight, just hoping to get that pawn, but it will be a beautiful blunder. Oh, it's not happening.
Yeah. So far, a pretty perfect game here for Mr. Burak CSR. I couldn't fault any of the play there, so this is a tough one. But let's see if Saya can hold on and maybe win back something. I do not like letting that knight into e5. That's going to make the defensive task a little bit harder, because of course when you're down in material you don't really want to have piece trades. Pawn trades you don't mind because that will help you draw the game, but piece trades can be tough.
Problem is that with rook and queen left on the board and this d-pawn quite weak for white, it could be difficult endgame. Quite hard, I guess, to not end up being down 2 pawns.
Yeah,
I think now you have queen e5 coming.
Anticipating pressure on the c file and to free up the queen to centralize. But yeah, Saya's probing the weaknesses there. The way to win this is to try and come back this activating the rook here with that queen move. That's a beautiful little remaneuver. But the problem is there's no weaknesses in the black camp, so it's going to be a sit and wait game. There is a weak square, a backwards pawn on c6. So maybe clamping down and saying, okay, yeah, you've got an extra c-pawn, but that c-pawn can't move. And I'm going to hold on to this position and just not let you break free so easily. And just play the waiting game here. But Mr. Burak is playing so fast and so strong. It's pretty tough.
I think for Celeste, I mean, a rook in c6 would be like big troubles for black.
Yeah.
Like this, tuck everything.
Rook c6, queen c2, and then maybe try and wait for some rook takes d6, rook takes b6 trick. This one, it's a good idea, but king to f8 really puts a stop to all of your plans there. That's the only issue.
Yeah,
and
it's happening, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the thing
that this is
okay. This one is pretty fine. No, I could see like, okay, time to go to the C column.
Yeah, of course, we can't allow that. But then rook e1, king h2, rook e2 kind of spells the end. I think the inclusion of rook e1 is a bit stronger because the king on h2 is further away from the action. And that would be very difficult to defend. Chooses just to defend the c pawn. I prefer activity in rook endgames. I would have preferred to try and eat the b and a pawns and launch my a pawn instead of... You don't want to have a passive rook versus an active rook. That's one of the endgame kind of tips where normally activity is worth more than a pawn on its own. And there's a very strong potential, especially with this a4 move, that you can clamp down here as white and try and just hold on and get a draw. Yeah, I like this.
Oh,
Maybe, yeah.
that one
It's
looks a bit off to me.
Yeah, rook b2 maybe is coming, and yeah,
Hmm.
this is a very high level game, I have to say. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a 2000 plus level game here. So I think both players should be very happy. But that pawn is now falling, and I think with it the game.
I think the missing move, one of the key missing move was to push to b4 instead of b3.
Yeah,
Try to open up and to get a pass pawn would definitely be like I guess one of the bets that could be interesting.
yeah,
For
but I
white.
think this has been a completely faultless game for black here. So I think
Oh,
it's difficult. There's downsides to every move.
yeah. No, what could be the idea? I mean, okay, the king is coming.
I like it. We've got to start something, right? If we get those H and G pawns, then the H pawn runs. But okay. Active king is a fighting piece, so use it as Steinitz says. I think it was rook f4 and then rook e4, and hope my opponent just plays king g8 for no reason and back rank mate.
I was thinking about that by
Yeah.
pushing to g5, hoping for a trade, and eventually to get like oh
Yeah. Oh, yikes! The king has been imprisoned.
yeah, no, he's totally
For his
stuck,
crimes of being active.
and the rook
That
is
king is
trapped too, kind of trapped.
stuck. Yeah, I think this has been much too strong of a game.
The activity of the rook is making everything.
Yeah, and now
Look at
there's
that.
no easy way here.
Yeah, you have only one square at that point. But would you be better if you don't trade or if you trade? That's also a big question. Because the black rook is so active and none of the pawns of white is able to be protected. For now, I mean, he's holding at 2 against 4. For now.
Yeah, clamping down here is a really good thing. Those light squares are weak, but there's just no solving this now. The E and the H pawn is under attack. The rook should practically avoid the exchange because it's a miserable task to defend otherwise. But now the other pawns are going to fall, and there's really not much here. At least now you've got rook c4 and trying something,
I
but
think it has some counterplay with the trade, from what I see. Much more than with no trade. No trading is 100% loss, I think. But with trading, maybe you had something. Maybe you had
I
something.
mean, both. I prefer the idea of some back rank mate kind of situation with a king with opposition and a rook coming to mate seems to me the most practical, but yeah, I mean, okay, so
For now, it
like
look like a black don't pay attention to what white are doing, so it might work.
yeah, but there's just quite a few pawns,
Yeah.
which is not what you usually like. And yeah, all the pawns are falling now.
So the game is not flawless for black anymore. From what I see, I see quite a lot
Yeah,
of inaccuracies about the endgame.
I think so. It's a cleaner way to finish this one off.
Mhm. Oh, I don't know this one. Don't understand. You need to relocate your king. Huh? Seems like a priority because now the rook will
Yeah,
just come back here and you start pushing. Okay. Well, what's the idea? I don't get it. Okay, getting one of own. Oh,
okay. Now the dream scenario is
no.
which we practiced not too long ago in a class, Sai and myself, is if we can somehow win with a rook to b5 there, I might have done it. The okay, in this case, this is more easily convertible from the black side. If we somehow manage to get those A and B pawns and leave black with one pawn, we could try the Philidor position, which is a famous way to try and draw when your opponent has a rook and a pawn versus a king and a rook. It's easier said than done, but is one of those endgames that you don't think it's useful until you see a game like this and you play games like this. And the whole result depends on whether you remember the Philidor and the Lucina positions. And here, however, 2 pawns is just one too many, and the king is too far away, and all sorts of other factors just... I wonder if it has a name, this technique here with the pawns and the rook. Do you know any name to give this? It's a common pattern, but I don't really know what to call it.
I don't know if it
Kind of
really
looks
has a name.
I'm going to call it the slinky maneuver. You know, like, one side goes and the other side follows, and the other side goes and the other side follows.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
guess I will give up on that.
Yeah, of
What?
course. There's, I mean, maybe.
White upper draw. That's what I just saw on the side.
It's a good try.
It's a nice moment to ask for a draw, especially in this kind of equal position.
Of course. How's the Open going? We haven't seen the Open in a little while, and I think the result of this one is fairly clear, although taking much longer given the level of play at the start than I would have expected.
Definitely. About the Open, for now, what's going on is that Alpha is leading. So I would say maybe a little bit surprisingly, because he's not the best player of the tournament. From like a pure, I would say, chess skills, from what I saw before. And Lulu start to play. So we'll be able to open the games a little bit after that. We have been definitely watching that game. So we have another one with Chloe and Blue Caution.
Let's see.
Is also quite interesting.
Looks like a short one with none of the kingside developed for white, but maybe for a good reason. Is it the Joe Barber London? Kind of, but with c4 play too. So it's a queen's gambit with this Joe Barber London knight c3, knight f4 stuff. And the whole trick in that opening is this knight takes c7 fork. But yeah, this poor king, he's out into the open. Wow, look at that. One of the reasons we want to develop the kingside pieces and castle as fast as possible is because there's all sorts of nastiness like this. Maybe the little move a6 just to prevent this knight jumping in, or bishop d6 even.
So it joined a bit what we said before, is that the move has been played too late, after the queen was already there, and like create some troubles, of course. I mean, once you arrive at that point, eventually, I mean, what's your option?
It's hard to know in advance, but bishop d6 works. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's better than losing a rook, I think. So sometimes in chess, take the least bad option.
Definitely. And we have Samira playing too against X right now.
I see.
A bit, I would say, offensive position.
I like this gambity style there for white. They're really going all in.
Oh, what?
It's paying off massively. And the knight does. Wow, that move was cool. It was like almost paying off. You know, there's some. I think they didn't see the knight on g5 and wanted some bishop takes pawn, rook e8 checkmate, exploiting the pin, but that didn't work.
So it has quite a lot of little involuntary tactic in this game.
Yeah.
And what do we have? This one is the last one for this round.
Whoa. Phoenix with a big win here.
We will have already the last round starting right now. So we just have a look at this one a bit quickly. I don't really like the bishop staying in f5 there. It should be moved or trade. But obviously it's not a problem for both players, because they just let the bishop alive without breaking the pawn structure of black. So I'm not sure why black is ignoring what white are playing.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a mate. Mate on h2. Watch out.
There is a mate on h2, but
Gosh.
better than checkmate. What about you give your rook away for a promotion? And
Yeah,
it's not taken.
not advisable there. It looks like both players need to oh my goodness, and that's at least the knight's defending it. That was almost rook queen in one move, which would be the most material you can win in a single move, actually.
You still have the checkmate there, by the way. You still have the checkmate.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's not a problem. Because this rook was going to be sacrificed anyway. And it's not because you plan a checkmate that you have to play it. Right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a confusing one. At first, it looked like both players were ignoring each other's threats, but there's some degree they're ignoring their own threats a little bit here. So I think tactics is definitely is the solution to this one. Of course, it's difficult. So I'm easy to watch these games and to poke a little fun here, but definitely need to watch out for your attacks, the coordination of the pieces too. The reason why we say develop all your pieces as much as you can is because a one-man army is a famous phrase because of how impossible it is, right? You cannot win a game with just a single piece. And the reason why is because when you coordinate those pieces and they both are attacking one place, that's where the magic happens. And the queen and the knight here are coordinated, and there's a tactic. It's just there.
Definitely. I mean, for both players and also for a lot of, I would say, young or early players, like one of the main things is you need to extend your vision a little bit about trying to see the things on the board, or at least to look for it. Because if you are not looking for opportunities or looking for moves, usually you tend to stay like focused on your latest move, which is like what a lot of players do. That they just see, okay, I moved my queen there before, so here is what I look. Basically a little square like this. And they don't see that the board is not only 9 squares, it's like 64. So you have quite a lot of things happening.
Right.
As you can see,
and that's another reason why the puzzles, the tactic training is such a vital part, is because it just hits you with a board and a bunch of pieces, and you didn't play the last move. You've got the first thing you have to do is figure out what on earth is going on here, right? I've got a queen here. Oh, I'm in check. They're attacking. Oh, my knight can do a fall. You have to like do that process. You're forced to do that process of figuring out, looking at everything, and just understanding what's going on over the whole board, which is, when you do enough of those, what you will and should apply in your own games too, instead of, like you say, just focusing on one little part area there.
Because it has some little crazy thinking there about the ways that they are both thinking. Like, okay, white is thinking right now, black is attacking my rook. What about, instead of saving my rook, I will attack their rook too by sacrificing another piece. But it's not seen as a sacrifice by black. Black being, okay, he's attacking my rook, I'm attacking his rook. It's a trade. So this is, I guess, a bit about the thinking that they a bit like ignore what's going on the board, just focus on, okay, I attack your rook, you attack my rook, it's fair, let's do that. It's a bit like the way they are playing. It looks like it, at least. Because
in between moves, or intermezzos, or zwischenzogs, or whatever language you want to say it in, are advanced tactics, and they don't come up as often as just recapturing. There's a reason why the blunder checking there didn't involve look for intermediate checks. It involves whenever your opponent plays a move, what can you capture them? Very simple. In that case, that simple blunder check would have solved and made it not only simpler but even stronger, just to take the knight and then go about your business afterwards. It's much less risk involved. Chess is hard enough. By following the basic rules, you can make it simpler for yourself as well. It's not just, how to become a super strong, think 20 moves ahead grandmaster tips. It really is to make the game easier for you, and then more fun too, because it's not giving you such a headache, thinking about all those hard things.
Definitely. I mean, So just the fact that this knight ended up exiting black's field alive is a crazy thing, because he went to take a pawn, then he went to take a rook, then he went to take another pawn, and everything was protected at some point. And now he can exit, you know, he made like a full loop, and he's alive, but he's going in again.
Oh my gosh,
And
he's a greedy
still
knight.
alive. It's like this one is a ghost. Like nobody can see him. He just take everything. And now he's going for check. Do you think he will still be alive? Truth is that yes, he stays alive.
No.
This knight stays alive, and she go to take another knight, and she
There needs
stays
to
alive
be
again.
wanted posters like bounty, like 1 million dead or alive this night for crimes against the Black Kingdom. This guy has caused so much damage just on by himself.
So
There should be songs written about that night. What a brave hero.
Maybe we should reconsider the rules of chess, you know? Like, why do you need a queen when you have a knight that powerful, that is invisible, and can just
Legendary knight.
come to commit some little murders in the side of black, and black can't even see?
Yeah.
Like
that knight is not worth 3 points. It's worth about 26, I think.
And you want to know something? Is that from the side, I can see that the next move are actually moving the knight again. Because the knight is coming back, and he's checking again, and he's taking another bishop. So it's
my goodness.
but at the end,
finally,
the knight is gone. So
finally the knight dies.
If we look, I want to show you a little comparison that I think will be fun to see. This is black side right now, and this is, wait a minute, black side before the action. So the knight end up, if you look at the knight, he ended up eating literally everything on the board, like in a crazy way. And at the end,
checkmate.
The checkmate happened with the first move ever of the queen. Isn't it beautiful?
You know, I blame chess computer opponents for this a little bit. I do recommend, especially to my younger students, to play against the Chess Kid animal bots. They're very fun. They talk to you. They make cool noises. But one thing I noticed from them, which can give you bad habits, is that the bots are weak because they don't recapture. And it teaches some students sometimes that if you just go on some magical adventure with your knight, you can capture 6 pieces in a row, and eventually it dies. But okay, that was fine for me because I just got the queen and 2 rooks and a pawn. So I think that could be a little bit of a consequence of playing against too weak opposition / chess AI opponents, which do struggle to simulate lower rated human play. They tend to just play the worst move they can imagine, because for a computer, it's almost impossible to imagine a bad move for them. It's that, you know, they underestimate how humans play, I think. So that might be a problem. Maybe up in the opposition, not only that you play online, but also against the computers, maybe up in the difficulty might solve that problem for both players. But it's hard to criticize, and my students sometimes struggle to break out of it because it works. So
indeed.
Yeah,
I don't recommend playing against bots for anyone, actually, because whatever bot you play, even at our level, is quite useless. A bot at 2,200, 2,300 ELO is not worth 2,300 ELO. He's worth 3,000, but he will make targeted mistakes to let you think that he's 2,200. But in a game, in the way he's playing, developing his pieces, he's well above 2,300. So you're not playing like a real player in any ways. And the same for beginners. Like, there's both beginners, they let you take everything until they think, okay, the disadvantage is enough that I can play at 2,000 ELO or 3,000 ELO for a few moves. Once I stay with this kind of disadvantage. So it's a bit crazy about that. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, nobody should play against bots. You should play against real players, because they are the one who can play this kind of spicy moves, where you have a knight playing for 15 moves in a row and nobody takes it. Probably just like the consequences of playing too much with bots, especially on chess.com.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so let's have a look. Yeah. Wow.
This one is like is a game for the first place, definitely, on this last round.
Yeah, I was interested to see this because the player playing white now, Bora, played a amazing game the game before, but have just fallen for a tactic there with a skewer, I guess you could call it. It's almost a skewer pin. It almost doesn't matter which one you take. So in that case, you can pick your favorite word. Rook takes f7 looks like a move that's on the cards, though, which is a bit nasty. Probably not taking that would have been a good idea because, yeah, now the pieces come in. Yeah, that's a tough one. Maybe rook to c8 there, counter-attacking with the threat of rook c2 potentially, pinning the queen. But then there's a discovered attack with the rook, so you've got to be careful. Maybe already it's a little bit tough.
The mistake was not seeing f7, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's no way out. Maybe just a little move like f6 there.
Oh, you cannot.
No, it's a even. King
Spin.
King h7, king h8 maybe, and just then trying rook c8 afterwards. You could. I want to avoid as much as I can.
Rook c7.
Rook c7, just because I like the activity. Maybe rook c8 now, and after rook takes f7, king h8. That seems like a good solution. Rook c8 threatens rook c2, pinning the queen to the king. And after the rook takes an f7, we just calmly step aside with our king and say, okay, cool, but you don't have a follow-up. Or do you? Maybe you do. Yeah.
I think you do. I think you do. After, if you play rook c8, so actually we can play it, huh? Play rook c8, rook take, you can move right away.
And rook c8. No, I can't come.
If you're not doing anything with white, you get the rook to c2, and you lose your queen. So now big question would be like, what can you do now as black? As white, sorry, because you cannot move away with your king. So it's looks like we get
I
mean, what can
so
you
this
do?
does be good. Yeah, I think bishop b3 looks the most, but you're still up here. Only 1 point, but the extra pawn white has doesn't look so important right now. And there's a big bind. This is why I prefer. I think I mentioned before with the game between Saya and. Yeah, you can't quite do that because then queen f5 comes. I think that's going to be mate actually, but maybe somehow. But yeah, this one's a tough one for both sides. Yeah, you can't play queen d3. You'd like to though, but that's a tough one. That's a difficult tactic to miss. So I don't think you should be too upset about that one. And here we have Saya. She dropped one game before, but so again with the Caro-Kann.
New Caro-Kann against X.
Yeah, I love this. This is the Caro-Kann theme tournament almost.
And this one's a bishop is out.
Yes, perfect.
Mention about that. So going
yeah,
again.
So this.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. A good idea. It doesn't look like it quite works though, because there's an in-between move, which doesn't really threaten. Oh, it does threaten something. It threatens that knight on f5, which cannot move because you have to save your king. Yeah, but then knight c2 on. Yeah, there's something here.
There is something. There is something. I think it's quite interesting about that. Is you play queen check, and let's say you let that knight, and you will put queen queens. So let's say queen take, king take, and now you have to protect the fork. So if you take that, two. Let's say you play here.
Yeah.
Take. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. Maybe you have to take on a check first. Oh, no, the king cannot move that far. But okay, so you will get like 2 pieces for the rook, which I think is pretty fine. I mean, it's fine for white.
Yeah.
Now, it's not what have been played in the game. So knight just suddenly went back, getting scared probably, and now you lose a piece. So,
yeah. As messy and as not fun as that variation looked, it's the best of the bad situation there, which I mentioned before. You've got to try and keep fighting, and just if you realize you made a mistake, it's often a good idea to mess things up and cause some trouble. because that makes it more likely your opponent's going to make a mistake too. And oh, look at this, beautiful. We're going to win that big. And
so she got the pieces back.
Yeah,
which
materials.
is quite good already. So now it's
I'm not
okay.
sure the
Losing a
double
little
pawns.
pawn.
Oh gosh. But then there's this move. Whoa, what's going on?
I don't know, but both players have more than 2 minutes on the clock, so there is probably no reason for it to plunder a rook.
And we see the move times actually in those last like 3 or so moves, because that seems like such a critical point. And we didn't really mention yet so far in these games time management so much.
So
5 plus 5 is not a lot of time.
Here on the bishop,
But
the time that has been used is 6 seconds, so it means she took 11.
yeah,
And
The
so the knight
yeah.
has been played almost instantly. Oh, and the bismove here took like not even 10 seconds, so she's playing really fast. And this one has been played like in 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
So 20
Then that
seconds,
is
but
quite
end up rendering a rook. And now I think
And-
Saya will be able to
Yeah.
clear that until she's
Yeah.
careful about having the king and the rook on different square colors.
Yeah,
But no need, actually, no need. Because the knight is
the
gone.
pin.
Okay, so
And yeah,
massive
not
cleaning
even
operation.
and here we go. This is a basic. There's the king shadow, and everyone should be practicing their king and queen versus king endgames there. Very
Exactly.
good game there. A bit of a mess at the start, but it worked out.
Yeah, I think it could be much messier than that, but she saved it 100%.
Yeah,
she saved
very
it.
good. It's those tactics again. Not only are they good to win a game, but when you're losing a game, the only way to come back often is through messy tactics. So those tactics training seems to be a big theme here.
Definitely a good use. Definitely a good
Yeah.
use. Oh, what? Okay, I tried to understand what happened, but after that I saw about the name is AKMM, which is quite well known for playing, I would say, like a messy, is it tactic? Messy, I would say messy games, where material doesn't matter so much, but I don't think it's really the style of Chloe to play like that from what we saw. So, okay.
Yeah,
It
but
has
this
a
one
lot
is
of trades, so everything will be traded basically at that point. Yes, everything, every single.
I
piece will
really
be
like
traded.
this decision here from Chloe, just trading off after winning that initial blitz of material at the start there. I like this.
The crazy thing is that
decision.
she's not the one initiating the tradings.
Yeah,
The one
Which
initiating
is-
almost all the trade is AKMM, which
Yeah.
if we could give him or give her, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but as a student probably just try to have a look, as we said many times, about the pieces, not to lose them all, because it's much harder to win the game without pieces.
absolutely.
So at the end, after all these games, one thing interesting is that Saya actually won. She ended up winning, even if it was definitely not a sure thing, but she had an advantage already. So she's number one. Blue Goshen also made a very good game, a very good tournament. He just lost 2 games against Saya and against Burak. So no shame on that.
Wow.
He lost against the 2 players above him in the tournament. It's pretty fair.
That makes a lot of sense. And Mr. Burra's premonition, his fortune-telling expectation, it's actually correct. It was true.
It's correct. It's correct, indeed.
So maybe you should go and buy a lottery ticket or something, because you've got the good luck today. And yeah, there was a lot of really good games there. I'm very excited as these are my students. I've got a lot of material to torture them with when we review them in our classes, which is excellent.
So maybe they will have a look at the stream. Maybe you have something to tell them about this tournament, right? Or you prefer to tell them in class? I think maybe okay. We have some little comments in the stream. We didn't really have the time to have a look at it. You cannot really see it from there, but I will just read it to you. So we have like a Bungle Rocks, which is actually Bungle John in the other tournaments, and say like, great, I'm going to lose to more childrens today. So I think we will have to see what is happening in the Happy Pawn Open now, to see what happened to Bungle John, because obviously he was ready to lose against children. I mean, I think he talked about our strong students that he had to play with.
Against John? Maybe that's what happened.
So after this tournament is over, now we can finally go back to the Happy Pawn Open. And before to actually look at the games, I saved 2 of the games that I want to have a look with you. This one we started to have a look at it together, right? Between Bungle John and Teacher Seb.
Yeah.
And so the computer is seeing some interest. Okay, so this one we say it's a mistake, but now we have like this move that is actually beautiful. It's beautiful. Just in case,
very nice.
if you take, you even have like a rook take here, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice, but so
it's good.
Without that, the game is equal. Here you have an advantage. Here it's equal. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's I think it's hard to tell. The thing is with the closed positions like this, it is a more positional game. So this advantage of +2, even though it looks like maybe they're just getting a pawn out of this, it's not so clear. It's not only that, it's this pressure and this like grinding down better squares for your pieces, better ways, better weaknesses to slowly attack. So +2 seems like a big advantage here. And the face of it. But actually,
it makes sense because you get that pawn here, but the D pawn is now weak. So even if you take back here, which you cannot really avoid it, if you choose not to take back and let's say move away the bishop, you
take the knight. The knight a4 afterwards, and
actually, I think it's even better to take the pawn and not the knight, because you still get that discover attack attacking the knight. So trading might not seem the best one indeed, but taking here, it's almost game over. You lost 2 pawns. The center is falling apart. You have 3 pawns coming. So I guess that explains the +2. But now so the game is back to equal. And we started that move before, right? With a knight to d6, which is now in the central position, quite strong. Okay, so blocking the queen might not be the best, but it still looks like a logical move to try to bring the rook to f3, potentially g3, or even h3.
That's super harsh, I think, from the mighty overlord Stockfish to give a blunder for that move. I think that's completely unreasonable, especially considering even it says itself, it only drops the evaluation by maybe 1.8, which of course is significant objectively, but not always. Sometimes it's the mistake for that one. So I'm a little bit surprised it gives a blunder for that, especially considering, I mean, f6, I guess, is powerful just because you can't take it in this instance because the knight will hang. I guess that's one big thing that changes here. But yeah, blunder seems a bit extreme for me.
A little bit, I guess. I think it's more like about positional endgame stuff that the computer is seeing already. From it, which now it is bouncing up and down until somebody finally play a good move for the computer point of view, because as a human point of view, every move looks pretty fine.
Yeah, that's what I meant before. This rook is definitely not long for this world, though. The in-between move here, threatening on g7, so you don't need to take the rook right away. Although I don't see any reason that one's so much worse either, because that would also threaten the queen with check. So I think you could transpose into both variations there, taking the rook or not. And rook gf3 is okay. I think rook bringing the other rook to the f file might have brought more pieces into the attack instead of keeping that pressure on g7. But I mean here, queen g6 threatening rook f7 looks like lights out as well. So in the future, and black doesn't really have much going for them. They can't even play e5 because the rook on c8 would hang. So Not much of a
Hard
forward
to
move.
play. Yeah, hard to play for black
Yeah,
now. I cannot
I
really
don't
see
see
what they can do. One
this
thing
knight
that
is a
I'm sure is that they don't have the time to try to move the knight away to eventually develop the rook, because the knight needs at least 2 or 3 moves. I mean, they have to play
yeah.
2 or 3 moves to activate their pieces.
Yeah, the
Which,
game would end with the knight on a5, I think, if that was played.
oh,
And wow, I didn't
okay.
expect this move,
Me
but it
neither.
looks like one.
Oh, okay. And then the checkmate is happening, of course. And last game I actually wanted to see was the game between the end of the games that we saw between Mickey's that have been playing a bit too passively lately, and in this game as well. So he's having some troubles, but he's trying to survive against Alpha right now. He's doing okay,
And
I would say.
yeah, I mean,
To the
that's working out just
survivor.
great.
Oh, but he blunders a
Oh,
knight. Okay, so game was not too long at the end. So now we are at round number 5, and we still have a few games to have a look at. So we have quite a lot. I guess it has a lot of things to see, but from what I see we have Lulu there. So I will open the game of Lulu, but I kind of want
yeah.
to see. Oh, okay. We have a game between your student and my student, which could be interesting as well, even if we need to consider that it's 3 a.m. in Canada, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the poor guy is probably half
To
asleep,
give
but
an excuse for Lulu, probably. So
yeah.
I guess we can have a look at this one first. So
Okay.
can recognize that it's one of my students, or it could be yours, because both play Caro-Kann
Yeah.
anyway.
Same thing. And just hoping to transpose, which is another thing that I've recommended too. Although maybe I'm might switch because I don't personally do that myself, but it is a good option. It's an easy option to avoid a lot of theory.
Definitely. I
This
like
is
white position. In this kind of
yeah,
game, I
this
really
is
like white position.
excellent. Now you're getting the perfect version of the Slav defense here. Okay, they get the light square bishop out, but this piece activity is huge.
Piece activity is huge.
I
But
don't
be
mind
careful not to
h3.
weaken too much about the position. But
Yeah.
I should be fine.
Well, here e5 just wins a piece, right? So
E5 just wins a piece. And quite interesting to see. Okay, so it's literally a free piece for pawn. So now
bishop.
Black are clearly losing, especially with that double pawn.
Mm.
Could have been better to take with the e pawn, probably. I would
Absolutely,
have
because
taken with the e pawn, I guess. E pawn and then followed by knight d7 to protect the pawn. Seems much
g4.
better.
Here, the bishop check, and then b6 is falling. So this looks like a quote-unquote easy conversion.
Definitely,
b6 is
right?
it's not going anywhere, so I don't mind not taking it.
Okay,
yeah,
so
and
the
any
pawn has been taken.
Castles was a legal move, right? So rook g1 seems like a very ambitious attempt to also checkmate the opponent, which is just an unrealistic plan, I think, at this point. So castles maybe is just a bit better. You do lose that e pawn, but you're okay, I think, with that extra piece.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been thinking like, okay, is there something interesting in castling as well right now? Because the queen are gone, and you only have rooks with, I would say, half open position, which, I mean, could be a possibility to play king d2.
Yeah,
well.
king d2 might even
King
be
d2,
more
king
useful.
d3 could be like something interesting, pushing with f4 if the pawn survive. But for now in the game, what's look like it is like the pawn actually survive. Because Mickey is not taking the knight. He's not taking the knight to take to get the pawn back after all. And he's moving his rook. Okay. So the knight is moving. Bishop is moving back.
Now f4 is on the cards. There's maybe even a chance to play f5 and trap the bishop in some lines. f4, f5 actually would threaten to trap the bishop. So that's an easy one to miss as well. Because f4 looks like, hey, I just want to protect my pawn. I'm not doing anything here. And then f5 comes and yikes, the bishop on e2 covers h5. And 2 pieces is too many.
Yeah. I mean, the bishop for now is fine, even on the push, huh? But yeah, F4 would be like I would say like a normal move, a logical move, which will not draw attention for sure. Which
Yeah.
it's what have been played. So Mickey tried to save his bishop there.
So he sees it, which is very good.
And now
This was
he's
struggling.
finally going to like trying to redevelop the bit himself, because for now, I mean, same as the previous game, he has been playing quite passively. So
Yeah.
how to be careful about the endgame, because even if white are up a piece and they have the bishop pair, black have a pass pawn in the center. So let's see what will pay
Yeah.
off. Is one pass pawn against a full piece plus bishop pair, which is still like highly unequal right now, but seems to switch a bit about the activity. Like black are playing more active now than white. White trying to
Absolutely.
do something, but they take a
No,
little
this
check
is
there.
okay.
Okay.
And King E3, I love it so far. So this is still favoring. Now, I'm sure that you have seen it too. I think we're both a little bit surprised about the end result of this game, because whilst it's a bit of a mess, like there's definitely tactics afoot. This is a well-played opening that resulted in a big center, in a fork, and it looks like, yeah, okay, we have two rooks in the open C file, but things are under control here for white, I think.
Things are under control. I would say like little imprecision as well. Like bishop g6 might not be so accurate. I would highly prefer like a bishop a6, which will just bring back some support just in case a pawn are coming, and in case you push the pawn to b4, and after that you have bishop to c4, which will totally lock down everything. So I would probably prefer that. I don't think like the bishop now in h7 is so active. This one I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all about the knight. I think it's a bit ambitious, but now you will have the rooks coming there.
Yeah, I think a knight to d4 though looks like a nice spot for it, and might cover c2, so the other rook can't infiltrate. I don't know. I see the vision here. c3 check is not there because of the bishop. Yeah, knight d4. I think you're holding on and trying to fight back the activity. The only issue is if you can get these rooks under control, fight back on the c file for white. I think you could convert this one. Knight d4 also would threaten. Whoa.
The bishop was
Threatening.
there, so
yeah, and rook c1 and or knight d4 would have held there.
So important to mention as well, both players are now like around 30 seconds on the clock, with Mickey actually getting like 16 seconds and Lulu getting like 32.
Yeah.
And now everything is rebalanced with like a full rook and another little blunder by pushing b4. It's kind of difficult. The knight is hanging or everything is falling apart.
Yeah, this is common when you make that first blunder. Often it's followed by many more, because you obviously chess is a psychological game, and you almost give up. I mean, not literally give up, right? But your brain just stops fighting as much as it can, because you're too busy dwelling on, oh man, I missed that move, and instead of focusing on the other things. I mean, this has now made it once again a messy game.
Yeah, the end game. I mean, everything could be stopped so easily. I don't know why both players have to rush to get a queen instead of trying to prevent the other player getting a queen. But at the end, Mickey lost another rook there, and now he gets a check, which after moving, he brings back the queen, and he trades instead of taking the free rook, which is also surprising. I mean, he could take the rook for free, so he trades, he takes the bishop, and now because he spent a few moves taking literally all the pawns of white, which were a little bit too advanced. Okay, now it's fully game over. He's just ready to push his pawn.
It's easier now.
Yeah, and game has been quite gave up by Lulu at that point. Or he's even trading the queen for the rook just to get another one. And okay.
Another rook even.
So I think he was, yeah, okay. He was a bit concerned, like he don't want to checkmate with the queen, so he was like, okay, I will checkmate you with two rooks.
Yeah, instead. The move of someone stalemated just too many times to risk it.
Yeah, probably should have been resigned after losing like
Yeah.
losing the last pieces. But anyway, like,
Um,
quite interesting game, bouncing
yeah,
up and
very
down.
interesting. I think for black side to have a look at what went wrong with the opening a little bit, but for white side converting the advantages, which is one of the most difficult things you can do in chess, to be honest. Like it's easy to say like, oh, you're up a piece, how did you not win? You know, that's one of the hardest things. You know, taming those rooks and controlling those squares and not allowing counterplay. You know, stopping past pawns, things like that. That's the tough part about chess. So I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of there for sure. Really good game for both.
Definitely, definitely. I think from the choice of the opening, white were like a little bit on a clear advantage because slab defense is not easy to play, especially on this variant. But after that, like despite playing quite passively for black and blundering a piece, at least they didn't give up and continued to fight until like I would say they arrive at money time where you both players are under 1 minute. At that point, like,
Right.
everything can happen, right? So probably
Absolutely.
like one of the key things is like once you arrive in a money time, especially even if both of them, like I mean, Mickey and Lulu are already great players. I don't know about the age of Lulu. How old do you know?
Oh gosh, I don't want to say because I'm probably going to get it wrong. Maybe 10 now
So
or
it's
so.
similar to Mickey as well. I mean, Mickey, if I remember correctly, he's like 12. He just entered 12 years old, I think, something like that. So they both
Yeah.
like young players, which when this special money time arrives, it's still quite hard for them to keep it calm, I guess.
Right.
Some things that you learn is like how to be quiet and relax once the clock is like ringing on red, right? It's you need few thousand past games of experience to be able to handle that. Um,
For
I guess
sure.
that's, yeah, that's probably
Just this
like the
morning,
key.
well, just this morning for me, but it would have been the day before for Lulu due to the time zone differences in Canada.
Oh
We,
yeah.
in an effort to prepare a little bit for the tournament, I did tell him a lot of your opponents higher elo do enjoy playing the King's Indian defense setups. This is something you're going to really need to have a recipe against because you're going to most likely face it at least once or twice. And we are getting that now. And interesting enough, I mentioned an idea that I've been playing with my own recipe against the King's Indian. Lulu hasn't chosen that, but he's got a very nice position here. So I can't fault him for this move. I love this. I think there's just a tremendous amount of space here. That knight's on a bit of a rampage, but it's got to be careful. If King D3 happened there, that knight would have been trapped. It looks almost trapped as it is.
Almost trapped. It was
Yeah,
close. It was a really close call. But
it was
at
a
the end,
close
it
one.
survived. So now it looked like
Oh,
both players wanted a draw, but they probably just wanted to have some more time at that
I would
point.
never draw here as white, especially after knight f5, which is Gary Kasparov's favorite place for the knight. He says a knight on f5 will win you the game. Ah,
Surprisingly enough, for Carlson, it's f4 for the knight.
yeah,
So it's for both players, but interesting endgames. As white, I mean, Lulu is now up a pawn, not anymore, was up a
yeah,
pawn. So now it's
tricky.
3 pawns against 2 on both sides, which is, I would say, quite like typical endgame. You
It
need,
is taking the opposition here and then hoping. I mean, you'd have to sit and calculate if I take the opposition, how many waiting moves my opponent has? Who's going to end up having to blink first here? And that will be what decides this.
so
So
at
white,
that point, you would play king to e2 there.
well, I wouldn't know because I think that one's losing, but that would be the first thing you consider. Can I just sit and defend this now? Because the enemy king's too active. But you'll quickly see that you've got h4. The opponent plays h5. And then, I got to move my king. And anywhere I go is going to lose me a bunch of pawns, it looks like. So
So
I
here,
think this
I guess it's probably like what's interesting is like you need to calculate a bit, but you can choose between the defense move, probably targeting a draw at that point, I don't think
Yeah.
that King E2 is anywhere near hoping to get a victory. Or you have
Yeah.
King C3, which
Which also is
now
the
needs
game.
to
That's the
be
yeah.
calculated.
Both
Who is arriving
two
first?
taking the opposition is the the teacher approved approach to king and pawn endgames, but the problem is here it just doesn't work. But unfortunately, this position looks lost because king c3, king e3, and the game's over. That g pawn's going to fall anyway. So I don't think there's any recipe there, and it looks.
I have no idea, honestly, about
Yeah.
because computers there say it's a draw. So I guess.
In that
Oh,
position.
so actually,
King
King C. Oh,
h4. Wow.
okay.
Never
So
in a million
you
years.
have few good moves, but King C3 was at first at least the best move. Ambitions. It means I want to see about King C3 because
King e3 is the move, of course.
so yeah.
Just say g pawn and push my f pawn.
The interesting thing is that we don't have to calculate it by ourselves. But computers say
Yes.
King C3, which for me was like winning or losing. King C3 is a draw. So of course, okay, we have King E. Okay, so let's actually play the move. Kind of want to know.
King G.
So this one will be
No.
better. Oh.
Yeah, that one loses. I did not see King B3 though, which is I think understandable because what on earth is going on there? Is the idea just C5 and then pushing the A pawn?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
I mean, this is where you use your time, or
which would probably play will have been this one, quite sure.
right.
But this one is losing.
And the problem
This
is
one
that the
losing
B.
because once you take the pawn, it's on a check.
Yeah, and that's one move too late. Look at that. That is just some insane stuff.
It's literally a bit dirty tactic there. But the move that has been chosen is actually like is a King E2, so not King C3.
Which apparently still draws, which I thought that was losing too, because now you're in Zug's Vang with F3, but I guess not.
So now it's still not
Because
losing, but at that point, you need to get the experience of endgame to see that playing B4 is the right move, which is not what Lulu gets for now. And this is not, unfortunately, the only possible way of getting a draw. So
with 26 left in Canada at 3 a.m., I think B4 is a really hard move to find, so I don't think that's any problem at all. Not at all. I mean,
so
tough move.
Trying now, and you arrived way too late. So understandably, definitely. Couldn't do anything on that, but okay. So this explains what happened next.
It's miserable. I mean, the computers, of course, are better than human players in every aspect of the game, but especially initially, the biggest place they stood out was in these endgames. Their ability to calculate with few pieces is just so insanely high that they don't seem to struggle in positions that look certainly unclear for us. So not surprising there with that one.
Clearly, because it arrived at a moment in a game like I think it's when you have less than 7 pieces, so the computer is able to calculate every single move. So that's why it's so accurate. You see in the chat we have Potato Turtle say, "I miss you, Louis Sensei." Since like I'm not joining the tournament anymore, she's kind of sad, and she's playing a fancy openings now. So I guess now we are at round 6, and into there, Alpha is doing like a perfect job, which I think is the first time I see Alpha doing a perfect job like this. Interesting enough, probably. And Lulu is on the buy of that game, so we'll be able to see that game between Alpha and Potato Turtle because they're both fighting for the title right now, which Potato Turtle needs to win if he wants to be able to equalize at one round before the end. Otherwise, whatever the result, if Potato Turtle is not winning, Alpha is winning the tournament for sure. So I guess it's worth it to look at that game. Let's take the side of Potato Turtle on that. So we have Alpha with White. White are like public enemy number one for now. To let us continue the suspense in a tournament. Oh, little pawn.
Yeah, that's a
That
big
has-
pawn to lose. The central pawns are too important to give away without much. And then I'm sure black is thinking about knight to a5 firstly here. That move screams out.
And knight to h5. Looks
Then
like it's
queen
not
c7.
working because
Yeah,
queen c7. So you still lose the pawn back. At least
you
that's
do,
what
but
it
this,
looks like.
I
Yeah,
guess
you still lose the pawn
queen
back.
d first.
So
Knight to
this is
a5
what
is.
has been played, and the pawn that has been taken is the b pawn, not the c pawn, which I mean I think is surprising a little bit. I would probably just go for it
Yeah.
and take the c pawn instead, because after queen trade you get a knight attacking the rook already. You can afford to just go back to the same position. In case you have rook c8, you will already have a threat of fork. So it looks like it's already better for white. But they choose to take the b pawn, which this one is surprising. I don't think like taking the b pawn is great. So trading, okay, no surprise on that. And the knight has to go away. Yeah. So now the diagonal is fully open.
Don't mind that. I think pawn takes with tempo looks good. I don't like this light squared bishop for black. He seems a bit of a weird guy. I guess he's okay, but he just seems like in a strange spot to me.
It looks like it will be switched by a pawn really fast, because now it's just the extra pawn staying on the position. Okay. So
Right, and then we go.
And now we arrive at where we are right now. So we still have a white up a pawn, which, okay, it's a double pawn, but still up a pawn at that point. Which, this is a pawn that they are up. It's a pawn that is protected by a bishop. It's a bishop that cannot move, otherwise this pawn is dead. So maybe it will take a little bit of time to find a solution. For now, I have to say, even if black are down a pawn, I still like the position of black way more about the activity than white. I think like white are a bit passive. So
As minor pieces, just so much better for black, but still, a pawn's a pawn. I don't know if I'm maybe greedy myself and still would choose white, but I'd spend the time. I mean, c3 looks like a very nice move that would just stop all of the nonsense with that bishop, and then we like slowly maneuver.
I'm thinking,
but it looks like black...
on c3, you might have even like a queen to b7, which we start to target again the other pawns, and maybe even if you have like queen c4.
c4 looks fine. I mean, you can hold on, I think. Although I'd like c4 for my knight ultimately, possibly as well, but who knows? You kind of have to just play the little game of I poke you here, you poke me there, and we do a little dance for a while and we figure out what goes on, because there's not a clear plan for both sides, other than white wants to get that pawn majority moving and make a queen, of course, but that is a long way off because there's tactics that are going to trip you up on the way there.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like white are just waiting right now, which from what I remember in previous games and even games I played with Afar, that it was a bit his game style, like a really passive play and waiting for a mistake, playing defense much more than trying to play for the attack or for the game. So for now, this is what we are seeing. And Potato Turtle used to be like quite the opposite, about getting the attack first and then see if it works. So
which makes sense with the h-pawn push, you know, just trying to cause some mayhem there. It's always a good move to play. The alpha zero move, as everyone I think is legally obliged to say every time it happens.
Yeah, and alpha game style is really like that. It's really like letting the other player take the control of the whole game and hoping that he can turn this around. Which, for now, he got a pawn. But will it be enough? Because, okay, you get a pawn that is doubled on a B column, but you also have a totally passive.
There's potential G5 and then king to H7 ideas here, which it looks a bit too weakening, but that bishop is
It's not working. On G5,
no,
on
you
G5
move on.
you can have bishop take.
Well, you can, yeah, because there's a pin, but in the future, maybe that's what D8's trying to start to set up. Who knows? Rook E6, something like that. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't want to move pawns on my king ever, but it's hard to come up with a plan otherwise. I mean, you have to attack the pieces here as well.
It's a bit passive. Maybe you shouldn't. I would just play rook. I would play the rook, and then I would probably play G5.
Yeah.
But you need to play your rook first. I don't think like the idea like queen D8. It's so interesting. I don't really understand it honestly. Oh, it's actually the same idea, but G5. But now you get protection. Okay, I just got it. I understand.
It's
now.
also the same problem, right? Because there's two pieces on that rook, not one. So you could still take the rook, queen takes, rook takes, and it still doesn't work, I think. But yeah.
Knight. Arrive at that point, G5 is anticipated.
Yeah.
At least the king H7 is anticipated by the queen attacks
But now the knight D2 coming. Is knight D2 scary now? Probably not, but it's exciting. Does it do something,
Knight D2? I
I mean it's
for white or for black?
I mean, it's some for black, of course, not for white, but it's something that's in the air. I'm not sure if it does anything right now, particularly.
I think it's just losing a piece. Because after knight D2, knight take. Knight D. My bad. So knight D2, rook check, queen take, queen check,
and then the king to F1 at the
knight to F1. You just lost a piece.
It's only now, but this knight outpost, it's finally got a job. Maybe that tactics come in the future. So that's a move that's always hanging there, right? That knight D2 that you have to watch out for is the main idea.
I like the idea, but I don't know how to make it work.
Yeah, it's one of those that you just leave there, and then white will help you make it work. Suddenly, sometime I think.
Somehow, probably.
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay,
but
now you still have like quite a lot of tactic because is this pawn hanging now or not?
Yeah.
I think like it's maybe worth calculating because I don't think any of the players calculated. But if you have knight take, knight take back, and it's not hanging. Okay, so it's not hanging, but
no, the knight covers e6. Also, just as an answer,
rook take, pawn take, queen take, and you get some attack too. But for now, okay.
Okay, so here we go. We do have that G5 King H7 that I mentioned before. It does come, but much later.
Much later.
And now that looks to be a piece for 2 pawns. Although the black king is weak.
Oh, it is. It is actually. I just saw about queen check, but the knight is protected by the queen, so you indeed get your piece.
And you can't. F3 doesn't seem to be helping you.
So it's not a huge advantage. I mean, white get 2 pawns for the piece, and their pawn structure is quite broken up now.
Right.
Okay, so you have the knight D2 right now.
Yeah, and here's knight D2. So the 2 ideas that I pointed out there did come, but they're just things that you keep in the back of your mind, and then you just say, okay, let's try and make them work. Let's see if they come up. The queen F1 move kind of invites knight D2 because it's with a tempo now. So
queen G1. I mean, I don't really understand. It looks like so passive that I can't understand what's the goal.
Something like rook A7 is the clear move here. I mean, you would play every day instead of queen F1. This queen is now asking itself, why am I here? And also, rook to E1 won the queen there. Rook F7, king G6. I don't see the problem.
He has to come back. He has to come back to the rook, but now, I mean, totally passive.
Yeah, and rook E2, and you're going to not enjoy that guy there.
Rook E2 or just taking the pawn?
I mean, rook E2 comes. The other pieces, they can't really move. That's the problem.
You don't even have to take.
No.
You don't even have to take. You can take if you want to simplify, but it's not necessary because you can trade the queen later. After that, you can force it by just like queen check. And you have the bishop to help. So it will be forced. You can force it in d2, from what I see.
I like this order with
Oh.
forcing first and then the bishop check. I like that one better.
It's
Watch
protect
out
the game
for
over,
queen
yeah.
c2, yeah, and
Should go for a little more check.
yeah,
Oh,
I like two. This way is just mate, I think, with a bishop e3.
And a mate with a pawn. Oh, it was a mate with a pawn. Come on.
Yeah,
Potato
Mr.
Turtle
Star.
is the opportunity to make a
It should be
checkmate to a pawn. It's always the most beautiful checkmate you can do. Okay,
good
so
game though. I think I ran out of ideas there in that game and was too passive, I think. So I think you're right about that one.
yeah, I mean, like the rook that didn't really have to move at that point because of the bishop. Like the bishop and a pawn is trapping enough. So it just
even down the
like,
piece, it's queen to f1, rook to a7 instead. Looks like because the queen to f1 move, I think, was even though of course you're down a piece, but the enemy king is weak. I think it's a few moves back. Something like rook a7.
One thing I don't really like with like queen e7 is that in case you play queen e7, you can have the rook following you everywhere, but then you cannot like leave it. So you have to just kind of follow it until you take that. Oh, you cannot take that. Queen. So
you can take up e2 and then you can play queen c2 and the bishop covers c1. So you get out of it in the end anyway. But
you get some like interesting moves, I guess. But if you play here and you have rook there, I mean, what do you do? Just try there. It's working.
Yeah, and then you're crashing through. So
because you have the bishop coming next,
right?
So I think that could be the idea. And if you have like coming there or coming here, now what do you need to
just
take that?
Take the queen.
Yeah, could be an idea. Could be an idea too.
Yeah. And the rook f2 is always there. You have to attack the queen. And then queen c2, and there's no more. Maybe not now, but queen c2, and then there's no rook c1 anymore. And now there's rook f2, and yeah, that queen on f1 has been the problem the entire time. You know, it's just queen f1. I think is even though it's down a piece, like you know, and maybe objectively it doesn't matter where you go because it's lost before then. Queen f1, I think, was a practical, the worst practical decision there to play.
I think just, in terms of like the basic endgame knowledge, you need to integrate that a rook on a second rank when you are black, or a rook on the seventh row when you are white. It's like the ultimate flex to play. But maybe I'm too much of a bullet player, and I'm already thinking of how to trade off the pieces and finish it off. So I just go for the easiest way. But
it works. But there's perpetuals, there's skewer nonsense. You could put yourself in trouble with this way, I guess. But of course, that's always a problem. You could blunder and lose is an issue we always face. So it's not really a big criticism. But
yeah, it's like you need to see once you start, you choose not to play rook e7, rook e2. You need to see that you will be able to trade the queen without getting in check because of the bishop. So yeah, I need to analyze a bit the position before play that, but otherwise, yeah, it could be risky for sure to not let the queen e1 get any game. So now it's like the last round, and Potato Turtle took the lead, but he just took the lead on the tiebreak because he lost the game by not coming against Zenatan on the first row. So what's the last game for both players? Because they are the only two that can actually win the tournament right now. So let's find Potato Turtle and Alpha to see about that. Where are they? So Potato Turtle is playing against Irisa, probably Irisa. And we still have Lulu playing. We see that. And Alpha playing against AX. So this one, I saw him before, and I just say like, it looked like the new kid of Elon Musk about the names. But outside of that, I don't know how to say his name. It's too long. So just say AX. You have Jessifer against Vishal. So looks like quite a close position. So we try to have a look at least these 3 games, probably.
This is
Up.
very
Okay, so
strange.
let's just have a look at this game first. So it looks like some sort of like a PX defense or like Ace Indian, no? So I don't even know about this open.
Yeah, it's a very strange move on. This is the King's Indian with as the C pawns moved. The only difference between the two is did that C pawn go to C4 or not? And but this one, I mean, this is very strange here. I mean, King's Indian, you do want the position, the center to be closed, but this one is a very unconventional pawn structure.
Yeah, I think so. It's looked like both players agreed. Okay, you know what? We didn't trade any single piece, but now if you want to play this game, we have to play only on the H and G column, and that we don't play on the rest of the board. H and G only.
Wow.
Okay. So we just let that game on pause because I think we'll be
my heart would sink if I had to play that game. I think I would mentally give up. I wouldn't be interested anymore. That doesn't look so fun to maneuver my pieces around, I think. As black and white, I would be happy, but because at least I can play b4, c5 and get something going maybe. But as black, this looks difficult to maneuver. But
if you plan to long castle there, it looks tricky. But
well, I wouldn't castle. I think the center's the safe zone, but
because you have the stone wall around there.
You've got the Great Wall of China in the middle there that's blocking everything. So
I think number one objective for black is you need to get rid of that black bishop. To get rid of the black bishop, because you will be able to play some pieces around there. It will be really strong. And both of the knights are on the wrong side of the wall. There is no way they just pass. What will you do? Try like this?
Yeah.
It's look impossible on each way. So yeah, I have no idea what will happen in this game, but we try to follow it. So we have Lulu against BG, quite interesting. So similar, same Caro-Kann opening game. So it's one game over 2, I guess. One game develop the bishop first. Second game we don't develop the bishop.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end,
there are some variations in the Caro-Kann where you can't, especially the D takes C5 lines where you play A5 and bishop A6, and that was an option here. But it looks like it's still going swimmingly here for black. The same idea. We're seeing this time and time again with the Caro-Kann. We win that D pawn, we put pressure on it, and then that E pawn falls afterwards. It's happening a lot, and it's a great success here.
So yeah. Little miss, by the way, by just see about that. Little miss from white. I mean, that was a free pawn, but they choose not to take it. So instead of trying that, now they have to move again, and now it's safe. So okay, this is a checkmate in one, and of course it's not seen. It's not seen by white. Just don't see about the prep. It's like a long distance prep, like a sniper at that point. But really efficient, very efficient. So
it's a hard one because you look at the bishop and you go, "Oh no, my bishop," and that's really not the actual plan there. So a tough one.
Well, even if white saw the threat, they still lose a piece straight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The game was kind of over already at that point.
Very nice game there.
Alpha against Elon Musk baby. AX, I say, with, I know there's some, I don't know, I don't understand what happened there. Is it theory, all of that? You think it's theory?
Yes, this is called the Max Lang attack, and this is a dangerous opening. I believe it's the same move order. Yeah, this is the Max Lang attack. This one's a really tough one. I play this myself sometimes. Although I am guilty of being a passive, like to defend positional grinding guy. So I started playing this because I wanted to be a bit more aggressive. This one is a very dangerous opening.
Dangerous for white or dangerous for black?
Dangerous for black because after d5 you take the knight on f6 and
What happened?
yes,
So
right.
you played it as white, right?
Yeah, but I start with the bishop first. The bishop's opening and a weird move order, but we get there in the end.
Okay, I got it. I got it. I understand now. I never arrived in this kind of position. Never ever. Either
I think the
because
most fun move order is the Scotch game. So with knight f3, knight c6, d4, and instead of recapturing the pawn, you play bishop c4, and you don't recapture on d4, and then it ends up in this position too. I think that's the most common order, but there's lots of.
one of the reasons probably is that I never arrived in this position. I mean, it has a few of them. It's first, I never developed the knight. Eventually, I developed knight to c3, but never knight to f3. Knight to c3 to transition to a Vienna opening, right? Which is also quite nice. But in the case that I play knight to f3, I will not play the bishop there. I will transition indeed with a d4 right away. And after that, just transition to the Danish gambit.
And here, if you play instead of c3, bishop c4, you can also get there.
You can also get there. So
Scotch gambit.
So you have Scotch gambit and Danish gambit, which are pretty similar, I guess, about the opening. Just you give one more pawn with the Danish. But it's not what have been played there. So after take, which accepting the gambit at that point, which I mean, I would probably play knight take on that. I don't really, or even bishop take probably. Bishop take looks better.
Yeah, I think maybe.
What's the threat on that?
I can't remember. I don't really didn't play so much. There's c3 and then that doesn't look so great. There's also
Try to understand.
I don't remember.
Is there something like that?
Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. I don't really remember. It's been a while since I've looked at it. There's some queen d5. Yeah, there's some all sorts of like crazy stuff. I don't think this looks right in terms of the.
It's look a bit weird, but I mean, maybe you can eventually have something there. I don't know.
There's all sorts of craziness that goes on like this. I don't remember so much of knight takes. But
it looks really weird to me a bit. So try to play D. Okay, take.
This line key e1 is good, and now black is on a bit of a knife's edge.
Like blunder to me on that.
I think knight to d2 is a good move in this position. Knight b d2.
Depending on taking the pawn.
You could do, but
taking the pawn seems fine.
It is fine, I think, but
I mean, I don't see really like it's too dangerous to castle because once the queen move away, you have so many threats that are coming. Pawn are quite advanced. Here you have eventually like the bishop comes there.
Yeah, or bishop g5 even.
Awful. So
it ends up. It's very dangerous. You see, like black's position is not. You don't feel comfortable ever when it gets like this. So it's a cool opening.
I don't really understand. I think maybe giving away the pawn was not like the best thing. Okay, so there's a bishop.
No, for sure. But there's tricks everywhere, and it looks like this one's worked out.
So actually, it was interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So now the bishop is hanging. Oh my god. Okay, so that.
Yeah. So this is the a good advertisement for this attack. It's so dangerous, and it looks like it's worked out.
It looks like it's working out. Okay, now trying to force the queen trade. Okay. Oh, that's not perfect.
Yeah. Queen e7 there would have maybe forced the matter. But I mean, this is
What? Okay. Now it's fully game over. Okay. All right. So a bit of a weird game. Probably like half of the moves I would not choose to play that. So it's a bit off. I mean, I don't really understand what's the goal of a lot of these moves. But now we arrive in a money time between Potato Turtle and restart. So at the end, Alpha lost. So it means that Potato Turtle he just need not to lose. Even if he lose, I think he's still first because
Yeah,
of
with the
tie
type.
break. He's
Although
playing
he against
Hmm.
no, he's not. Yeah, so he's gonna win this one.
Or at least to draw it, which might be
Right.
enough. Okay, so they trade a lot of pieces, but as we said, right, only H and G column at that point.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh. That looks scary, but it's just barely holding on, maybe. But after knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, g6 is sensitive as well. Probably would have preferred
So
taking that knight
lot
first.
G6 and then castle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, it's
okay,
going
so
fast.
get a pawn back, but threat of checkmate at that point. Oh, but there
Yeah,
are so
you
many
can.
checks. Is there one of the thing like could it work about that? Because if it was me, I would probably play queen check first and rook c, and then trying to get some of these pawns. I don't know, but seems like it has something.
Yeah.
Queen d8 seems passive.
It does.
I want to know. I'm sorry, but I need to check on the analysis. Oh, I cannot get it because the game is not over.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
so
Did the game end? No, it didn't.
so what happened played is queen d8, then knight block, then knight attacks the rook. Okay, fair enough. And
He's
he got the
playing
pawn.
incredibly suddenly, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, a four.
and he got the fork. Okay, so he got piece back. Now he got another check. And now he's the one
That's-
offering to trade the queens. And he
Yeah,
trades the
it's-
queens. And now it's game over.
Disaster here for I think it might even be easy to just take that knight with the rook as well. The king and pawn endgame looks very vividly winning.
He can take right now. Will he do it?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand if you didn't, but that connected passer there just pins down the white queen. And the black king just runs up and eats all the pawns on the queen side. I mean, okay, you've got a minute, so you don't need to play like that, but
I think Irisa is not playing anymore. It's just game over. Oh, he's playing.
yeah.
I think at that point I would just
Keeping a tricky knight on the board might come back to bite him potentially, but yeah, you see, maybe taking that knight is the practical solution to that problem, but it's no big deal.
I think so, because now you kind of have to play. Oh, what can you play at that point?
Yeah, this is a tough one actually.
Because it looks like you are losing a pawn, but you need to push on a check. And if king's take, you have a rook a4, and you get your pawn back. That's what I see for now. I don't see any other solution to not lose the pawn at that point.
Yeah, you could just say, well, who cares? I'm going to play a5, a4, a3, and the one big problem you get in knights for the end game is they often just take so long to get back to that pawn that if they, if you say we play knight takes e5,
it looks risky, no? Because
it does. So,
that's
why.
Okay.
Off.
So
right.
He played
Suddenly,
king c3.
Yeah, this might still be objectively winning, but I don't know. I'd start sweating if I was black. Not necessarily, but there's it's not as clean as maybe I'd like it to have been before with the kind of more practical decision. Because here now this a pawn looks like it's falling.
It's falling.
It's
the pawn is falling, but the big pawn is falling as well. So
yeah, and this knight's not really having a
yeah. So now you just need to attack the knight, and the pawn is dead. Oh no, he's going for checkmate. It's not working.
You can. No, knight c5 check would have been a slightly known, but then you can just take the pawn. So I guess that was the trick. There's lots of ways to do it here. It's not necessarily too tense, as much as I'd like to pretend it's a close one.
Oh, and you fine.
In and wait, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
pin and win, and after king c2, you don't even need to take it. Rook takes, king takes, pawn check, and then king a2. Can you do it? Takes, check. Yes, you can. You take the opposition at the end.
Yeah.
So this is...
You can do it. You can do it. It will. But you choose not to.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to. It's fine, but... I don't know. I just, too many silly blunders in a winning position make me more cautious in these situations, I would have taken that knight 20 moves ago. Like, I'm not having this guy mess up my game,
Agree. I agree. I would have to, for sure. I mean, the knight have nothing to do there on the board anymore.
Well, it's dying anyway.
Just there to be a little bit annoying. So it should have been taken a long time ago. Because then now... Oh, so now he's taking.
Yeah.
And white resigned on the spot. So maybe indeed he should have taken like 20 moves ago, and maybe white would have resigned on the spot as well.
But it's fine. Can't criticize it.
So
if it works, it works.
At the end, we still get a potato turtle winning. And Alpha followed by AX and Jessica after that. And then Vishal and Iris is there. So we got like Lulu is number 8. It's not bad. It's not bad. Not bad at all. For a tournament, it's quite fair, Like, well, very fair, no? I think so. He's around the same ranking of like same kind of player as his level. So it's pretty fair. But we can see that it has a little difference between the 1,500 and 2,000. It's like above that, everybody's almost 2,000. So I guess it's fair enough. Well, at the end, we saw some interesting games between, like, especially the top 3 of this tournament, but quite a lot of positive things also from students, right? I mean, it was pretty nice. Now
I'm very... With the beginner especially, we had a big turnout of my students there, which I'm going to keep pushing, I think, because that was really exciting to see. And it's good to review afterwards. Of course, as you know, you said yourself, right, you don't like the playing against the computer. So playing against strong opponents is exactly what you need to do to improve. So that's wonderful.
Definitely. It's like perfect training. But at least now you saw a little bit more about your students and you will be able to give them advice. And they have no excuse. If they want to say like, oh, teacher, what do you think about my tournament? You can say, I looked at it. Everything is on YouTube. You can look at me and my comments about your games. So now at least they will know for sure that you are looking at them. Okay. Do you have some words to conclude or to finish on that before we can end the stream for this month?
Nothing much. No, just really good job for everyone, and thank you for joining.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on the stream anyway. And you know that whenever you want, you are more than welcome. Whenever you can. It's more like whenever you can. Whenever you can find some time to join me again on a stream, I will welcome you again for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aran. And see you later. See you later.
Bye-bye.